Tracy, did you get it? You should be able to share.
Okay, can you
Awesome.
see my persona on there?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I am going to backtrack a little bit. Okay, so this was actually a really good experiment on my part. It really validated a lot of who my target audience is. Of course, I started this whole idea to solve one of my personal problems. So it was not a surprise when I found a lot of people that replied to me were of the same, had the same needs and had the same issues. So just to briefly go through this, I'm not going to read it. My ideal customer is somebody that is hard of hearing, has difficulty hearing in crowded situations, specifically meetings, crowded restaurants, other situations that are more than two people, themselves included. Their needs is that they need to be able to understand the people speaking around them, either through captioning. They have trouble locating sound, so that is another need that they have. And of course, text to speech, if they are not truly able to communicate verbally, that would be for a fully deaf person that does not have their communication skills. They want an easy to use technology. So taking all the information I gathered, I created an empathy map. So I'm not going to zoom in on there, but you can see where I took a lot of what they've said and placed them in the think, feel, see, hear, say, and do areas. And I was able to come up with a persona, which is hard of hearing Hannah. Please forgive the alliteration. It's just something that I like. So Hannah is a successful social worker. She is 33 years old. She's a female, of course. Single, has her bachelor's degree. She is just entering the prime of her career. She's been out of college for about 8 years and is getting ready to settle down, marry her boyfriend. Hannah was born with moderate hearing loss, has speech capabilities. She has learned to cope and overcome obstacles when it comes to her hearing. The key is to adapt. Many of the challenges she faces stem from gatherings of more than two people. Hannah often has difficulty in crowded restaurants, distinguishing conversation that is happening at her table from conversations that are happening in the background. Other challenges include determining the direction the sound is coming from, and her newest challenge is deciphering the muffled words of a person speaking behind a face mask. She does not like the thought of depending on technology, but she does realize that technology may give her independence and freedom to enter conversational situations she may have avoided without it. So her greatest motivations are convenience, reliability, ease of use, cost. Cost being a very minor barrier to her. Her biggest concerns are, of course, being able to converse with multiple people at the same time, how to determine how loud her voice is in certain situations. She also needs a solution that can fit into a professional setting. So as you can see, I pretty much laid out, she is pretty much tech savvy. Her communication challenges, again, as described, are laid out here in these little charts. And that is pretty much what I gathered from my interviews. That's it.
Ooh. I love that you named her hard of hearing Hannah with the alliteration. Snaps.
And just so you know, one thing to add is that this is just this is going to be the primary focus of my customers at this moment. However, there are secondary customers, such as the geriatric generation, and as well as fully deaf and non-communicative individuals.
Awesome. All right, everybody, you start your quick evaluations. We're going to give you like a minute or two, and then you're going to be able to do your word, more feedback after this. So Tracy, question, and you may have said this real quick, but I skipped over it. Did you find that women are more likely to be a customer for this through your interviews?
I found that women were more interested in participating in the interviews for this. I can only surmise from that they are willing to adopt the technology. However, from the few interviews I did with a man, they were accepting of it, but less likely to pull out their phone in the middle of a conversation. So it could be a potential barrier.
Cool. And what is Hannah currently using to solve these problems?
She is currently using lip reading, as well as possibly just relying on other people around her to decipher things that are not being said. Of course, there's always a good paper and pencil technique in the hardest situations.
Got it. All right. Nice job, Tracy. Does everybody feel like you had good time to review? Are you doing okay with the evaluation forms? Yes. Jackie, you look concerned.
I was just going to say quickly, just what company is it again? Like it's the
It's
drop down of companies, right?
Stressless industry.
Stressless, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Stressless is the overall company.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Awesome. All right. So we are going to keep moving along. We'll be able to give some open feedback to at the end, y'all, but we just want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to present. So we are going to have Tiffany go next. Let me give you the opportunity to share. Yes. 1 second. Where is your name? Okay.
That's good. Okay.
There you go.
All right. Hello, good evening, everyone. Let me move my screen over here. My company is the Morning Shift Co. It's a personal growth and well-being company that's dedicated to helping ambitious individuals really show up in their self-discovery, self-healing, and self-care through consciously crafting their morning practice. So, my customer discovery interviews. I decided to, because I've been working in this business for about a year and really focus on entrepreneurs, I wanted to also explore who else might be a possible customer for this. But I continue to interview entrepreneurs. I interviewed some corporate and nonprofit employees, as well as mothers, those in the motherhood journey from pregnancy to postpartum. And then people who are deep into their personal growth journey. Some of the work that these individuals did in real estate, community engagement, they were stay-at-home moms, social media marketing consultant, life coach, blogger, podcaster, spiritual leader, nonprofit director, higher education. Like, it really ran the gamut of different professions that everyone had. So I really wanted to better understand how they started their days and see what vast difference it might be depending on the kind of work that they did. Some of the pains that they all expressed was like what time to do anything, especially even with what we're, all being at home. I think the misconception was we're all going to have a lot more time on our hands, and that's not necessarily the case. Something that was also really interesting, everyone's really exhausted by the end of the day, like just tired over it completely. No time for themselves, a little stressed out, a lot of responsibilities, and wondering if they can add even one more thing, even if it's self-care related, to their to-do list. But at the same time, also really tired of not prioritizing their self-care and well-being. So it's like, can I add this? But I also know that I need this. They're desiring right now to create a more solidified morning practice or morning routine. But again, with what time? Want to work on continuous self-healing and self-care, looking to really be seen and heard, and have more time for fun and leisure, as well as if they have more money, they would probably take care of themselves more. That seems to be also a consensus. Values here, family time is also viewed as self-care time. Values of work, growing and expanding into their careers, having an opportunity for mental checkouts so that they're not just always on the go, but want to prioritize mental checkouts and really have more depth in doing the inner work. Some resistance that I found was just really adding more to their plate, especially in the morning. They're resistant to investing in more shallow self-help, which it seems to be a lot of people kind of constitute a lot of the self-help that's available right now is really shallow. And all the high tech without a person, without the actual connection or human to human connection. So that's what I discovered. So with that, you can meet Cara. She is 35 years old, entrepreneur, married with 1 kid. Pre-COVID, she did travel a lot. She's dabbled in the personal growth, self-help world for a number of years and knows that it's really important, but really struggles to formally commit because life and work is hectic. And she is used to developing hyper-productive morning routines, but ones that aren't very nourishing, just kind of another thing that's on her to-do list, because everyone has a morning routine, because that's what successful people do, right? So that's where she's at. The problems that she faces is she's the queen of pouring from an empty cup, really over delivering to family, friends, clients, and it doesn't leave anything left for her at the end of the day. She's pushing all the damn time and not leaving any room to just be present, be available to herself and others. There's this constant mental tug of war with feeling pulled in so many directions with no actual outlet to decompress. She feels like she has to constantly prove herself to others, but really it comes down to mostly trying to prove stuff to herself. She doesn't prioritize me time, and it's starting to take a toll on her mentally, physically, emotionally, and it's impacting her family life as well as her work life. And she doesn't have time to do more of what she wants, whether that's like new hobbies or, you know, just doing things that really light her up. And this leaves her feeling depleted and questioning, like, what's the point of all the work and all the energy that I put into everything, but yet I'm still very unfulfilled. So some of the alternatives that she tries to use is like IG inspiration, you know, all the motivation, inspiration, self-helpy quotes and things of that nature, just kind of like digest that on a daily basis. YouTube videos, because there's tons to tell you what kind of morning routine you should have, but none of them are customized. Apps that have no human connection, so it doesn't really give her what she's looking for. As well as one-off retreats and conferences, you know, for a couple of days. But as we all know, it's very short-lived. You have motivation and excitement for the moment, but then you're like, life happens when you go back home. As well as expensive coaching packages. And when that's done, then what do you have again? So these other options really feel generic. They don't have as much depth and room for realness, humanness, expansion, and inclusion, or inclusive container for growth on like a daily basis that is really consistent. So that's where she's at with her alternatives, which leaves the solution for Kara is the morning shift. Yeah, and that's my person.
Whoop, whoop. All right, everybody give snaps for Tiffany. Tiffany, maybe we'll have to have you stop sharing so we can see everybody again. All right, so everybody take a moment to give some quick feedback on your portal when you have a moment. And Saida, are you good with feedback? I saw that she asked. Let's see. Ryan, you want to get Saida the link?
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. You can ask a question.
Tiffany,
for sure.
good job, by the way. Thank you. You know, when you first thought about your business and what you're going to offer, and I looked at your profile, by the way, on the other site. How did it change after you started talking to people? How did it change as you started talking to customers or future potential customers?
Yeah, what I realized after talking to non-entrepreneurs, because that's been my primary customer base, is that I would have to offer, like with my MVP, like more options from a timing perspective, because they just don't have the flexibility. So right now, one of the things that I do with them and like my membership is I do these things called morning shift sessions, which happen at 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. on Monday mornings. And some of the people that I talk to, you know, whether they have to commute or they have kids and they have to be, you know, at their job at 8 or whatever, may not have the time for those time slots. So someone was like, well, if you had like a 4:30 a.m. or a 5 a.m., that could work too. So it's just kind of expanding and better understanding how their time is and seeing alternative ways to create that if those are other markets that I want to get into.
Okay.
Tiffany, I was interested to hear that you shared people were resisting the pure technology. That is something that I actually saw in one of my business ventures as well, was a lot of times tools were solving the problem, but people were really looking for the human connection as well.
Yeah.
So both.
Yeah. That was major. Like when I asked, like, what ways can this best support you or on your well-being or personal growth journey? What are those ways? Number one was one-on-one or small groups or something that was very interactive and not digital or app related. despite as much as we have out here today.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right. Nice job, Tiffany. Woo.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, I have on my list, Dinal. You ready to go? Yeah. All right. Let me give you sharing ability. I'm making essentially everyone a co-host. I don't know how many co-hosts I can have, so we'll see what happens as we go. But you should be good.
All right, okay, let me see. Share my screen now. Here. So I just updated my computer. I'm hoping that you guys, can you see my screen? Yeah? 1 second. Zoom will not be able to record the content of your screen until this. Let me try it, I guess.
Okay. I think we just lost them altogether. Oh no. Okay.
What's his company, Shayna?
Hopperfit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can get him back on. We may switch though while he's jumping back on and getting his computer set up. We'll see if he can jump back on. All right. I'm skipping while he's getting re-signed up. Next on my list, I have Leslie. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I don't need to share the screen, so you guys just get to hear me talk today.
All right.
All right, so my company is Stay Fit Activewear. For the mentors on here that haven't been following us, it's a company with me and my sister, and we make maternity athletic shorts. They are designed to be light, comfy, and so you can buy one pair that fits your entire pregnancy. So in these customer interviews, it was actually really interesting to me because we kind of started the company just to make my sister some shorts. And then we're like, yeah, and whoever else wants them. So this was a fantastic way to explore it further. And what we've seen is we have an ideal consumer and mainly two ideal customers. So I'll get to that, but talk to you about some of the problems and the things of that nature. So in these interviews, big problem we are finding is that pregnant women were having difficulty throughout their pregnancy finding comfortable clothing. Interesting thing was that maternity clothing options are not great in regards to any category, whether you're looking for pants or dresses or tops, whatever. They were not happy with all of the options. And it may just be styles, colors, prints, but really finding stuff that was comfy. Finding stuff that they could wear more than a few months. A lot of the clothing would be, okay, you can wear this for months 4 to 6, but then when you're months 7 to 9, you need to buy different clothes. So, we did validate that we are solving a problem, but the problem was widespread. So some of the options we make, athletic shorts that have a band that goes underneath the belly. There's other options that have a band that goes over your belly, but that's really hot and not really ideal for Florida or warmer climates. And so some of this alternatives I was talking with in our interviews that women were maybe sizing up on clothing. So buying, I'll call them regular workout shorts, but sizing up a few. But that wasn't really solving the problem because then at certain times, it's just the fit wasn't there and they would still be really tight on their waist. And as they were gaining weight, it really wasn't comfy. We also found that some of their options were to wear some of their husband's clothing, like his workout shorts or his boxers, just to have loungewear around the house and just I just want something to lay on the couch with. That kind of really surprised me, but like, I just need something. I don't want to wear pants. I just want to be. The other option, which the alternative was to really, they suck it up and just say that I'm only this size for, a few more weeks or a few more months. And so I'm just going to wear uncomfortable clothing, which, really, I didn't like at all. That's, I feel like it's an awful alternative, but that was a mentality where this is a limited portion of my life. I'll just get through it. I have a deadline and then I'll be fine. So in there, when we were talking about what are other barriers that we have for some of our customers, was they don't want to spend money on clothes for a short amount of time in their life. Like I just said, you know, you're only pregnant for a few months, it's defined. So part of our ideal customer is looking for people that are looking for clothing that they can wear while they're pregnant and after they're pregnant, and clothing that is not so obviously maternity clothing. When you have like a big old belly band, that's going to be obvious later on in life. Or some of the styles are, sorry, my cat's bugging, get down. Things like that. So they don't want to spend a lot of money. There's also, mom guilt is real. And we found a lot of moms, like moms to be, that they felt guilty spending money on themselves where it wasn't a necessity item. So, you know, workout shorts or loungewear is not something that they need for work. So they felt guilty about spending money on that, or where they thought that they should be saving money for the baby. So those are some barriers that we, you know, when we were thinking about it, coming up with our ideal customers. And so the ideal customer, like I said, one is, you know, the mom herself. And this is where she's looking, either fitness is a priority. She's looking for clothing that's going to last beyond her pregnancy. And having a little bit of extra spending money, you know, that not a super tight budget, that she's willing to spend money on these clothes. But our second ideal customer, which is something that's we've been learning recently, is we'll call them the gifter. And this is someone that wants to gift to the to our pregnant, our mama to be. And typically we found that females give the gifts, you know, maybe a mom, mother-in-law, friend, sister, but really the gifter that wants to give something to the mom. In the interviews, like most presents people receive, it's for the baby, you know, diapers, cribs, things of that nature. So the gifter is someone that's looking to actually give something to the mother, and looking to give them something that's practical, that they can use for a while. And in the research too, I did confirm everyone across the board, moms would not have been offended by receiving maternity clothing as a gift, because I was concerned about that. You know, it's not like, hey, you're fat, like you're growing. It's they were receptive to it. They said, one, I love gifts, and you know, especially if it's something I need or may not, you know, be seen as something extra. So those are our ideal customers. And that's it.
Awesome. Good job, Leslie. Snaps.
Oh, and I had a question. Oh, material that we use and how stylish. So I'm actually wearing them. So I'm going to get up to try and be, let's see if I can show you guys. This might be weird. Let's see. Or do I need to stand back? Ignore my liquor cabinet. I don't know if you can see them. Am I super back? But yeah, they're just.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, these are navy blue. So you can kind of couple them with a t-shirt. It's really, I'm blanking out. Most of it's a combination of spandex and lycra and a little bit of cotton, but it's really stretchy fabric that can grow with you. So that way, if you're gaining some weight too, it's really comfortable and it's not sticking, clinging to your skin.
Awesome.
They're UPF 50, so it's good for the sun, and antibacterial. So keep you safe.
Love it. Yeah, they do look like running shorts. That's what Greg said. I agree. All right, y'all. So start filling out your comments and scores for Leslie. And Leslie, I love the gift idea. I always look for my friends who are pregnant for gifts for them, because you're right. Most people give gifts to the baby. So I like to send like bath stuff or like those crazy shaped pillows. You know, I don't remember the name. Tiffany might have C shape or something, but I love the shorts idea. I would gift that 100%. Awesome. All right. Tiffany said she's excited for hers. All right, Tiffany, you're probably going to get like 20 pairs of shorts from this group after this. So Leslie, how many colors do you have? How many different versions?
We just launched our 4th color navy last week, and we'll have 2 new colors coming in the fall. So we're coming. And then Tiffany, I think yours should be arriving today, or they may be tomorrow. So Tiffany's got a pair on her way.
All right. Then we'll have 2 models on the next call of the shorts, and we can see different. I love it. I love it. All right, Dinal, do you think you're ready with your computer? You got kicked off, so.
Let me try. Host disabled attending sharing. Okay.
All right, let me try to give you sharing again. Here you are. Okay, we'll see if that works. There you go. Okay.
All right, cool. So if you haven't heard, my company is HopperFit. It's a one-stop shop for everything that you need for fitness, from workouts to your healthy meals to personal training to even mental health with massaging and, you know, cryotherapy, things to recover from, you know, injuries. So that's HopperFit, right? So, you know, the problem that we're solving really is, you know, consumers nowadays, especially with COVID going on, have problems, you know, staying accountable for being healthy. A lot of them not even motivated to be healthy. And we also have another customer who are trainers who really they need jobs. Right now, gyms are closing down, and most trainers that I've interviewed, they really don't even know what they're going to do or where they're going to go, and they're trying to find a solution. So I interviewed two types of people. I've interviewed hoppers and I've interviewed trainers. From my interviews, I want you guys to meet Sam. This is the ideal hopper, right? She's 43 years old, married with older children. She works from home due to COVID, you know, because she can't go into the job. She don't want to bring back the illness to the house. And she's at the height of her career, of course. And she, with her being at the top of her career, she's enjoying a really nice salary, and she has that disposable income to be able to use to do the things that she want to do. I mean, of course, she has expenses like paying for the kids' tuition to go to college, you know, any of the house bills, but for the most part, she's comfortable and you know, she's living a really nice life. And she's really health conscious, and she enjoys a range of cultural and social activities. You know, she's a lot of times, and you know, before COVID, she was pretty, you know, she was really into the media. When I say into the media, I would say not necessarily a lot, but on what the average people usually do, you know, check the news, look for, you know, the business updates, you know, exchanging emails. She uses her laptop or iPad in the morning, you know, just to kind of check sports and to check the news, of course. She uses Facebook to connect with her family, you know, and longtime friends. And she prefers the internet for services and information when she knows things that she's researching. Sam, you know, she I mean, Sam enjoys, you know, staying fit and socializing with her friends. I mean, that's what most people kind of go to the gym for. They go to really kind of be around other people, and that's what she enjoys. What really motivates her to stay fit is to losing weight or improving performance. As those are her big motivators. When I say improve performance, a lot of people around, you know, like Sam, of course, they do a lot of 5Ks, so they want to increase their 5K time, you know, things like that. Or they want to be able to play soccer a little bit longer with their kids and with their family. And she also has a moderately healthy eating lifestyle. So she's aware of what she eats, where she eats, and how she eats. And I want to talk to you guys about Max, who's a personal trainer. This guy, he, you know, worked at LA Fitness, and because of COVID, you know, LA Fitness they closed down for a long time, and even if they've opened back up, but even since they've opened back up, many people are wary about going to gyms now. They just kind of, you know, they have a weird feeling about going out into public places where people are sweating and people are, you know, where crowds of people could possibly be. So he's looking to train independently and to increase his wages, because working at LA Fitness as a trainer, it's hard to make a living off of that. I actually worked there for a while, and I was getting, I would say, 25% of the wage that I could make independently. So most trainers are looking to go somewhere else for work, or work on their own, or looking for other options when it comes to training. And most of them need platforms to build their businesses on. There's a lot of different scheduling platforms out there. There's no limit to how many of them there are out there. And all of them kind of have their niche and they're different. But at the end of the day, all of them are paid. And most trainers that I've interviewed so far, oh no, my screen pause? Oh. So
well, you're on the trainer slide.
Okay, I'm back. So most trainers that I've interviewed so far, they don't even want to use other platforms because they've had probably a bad experience with them. They've used them, they don't work. That's kind of the feedback that I've gotten about any other platform out there. So most of them that I talk to, really, they're trying to manage a business with spreadsheets, and they're trying to find customers with Facebook and Instagram without actually putting any budget behind pushing ads or reaching a new audience. And there are alternatives. I have a couple of here that trainers are using. Thumbtack, which is not really a fitness platform. It's really a platform for anything that you need service-wise for your home, or any kind of service that you may need to live. But Thumbtack also offer for trainers a platform for them to put a profile up, and anyone who comes to Thumbtack looking for, hey, I need a trainer, how Thumbtack works is they will send that person 5 trainers from them to pick from, and the person gets to pick the trainer that they want to use. Even if that person doesn't get picked by this person, the trainer still gets charged just for them showing that customer that they're available for them to train. So it's not really the ideal platform for trainers, and most of them do not like that about it. Meetup is another one that this is a platform that I want to say not many trainers know about. The more experienced trainers are the ones who even mention Meetup at all. And they have their, they say it's pretty effective, but they kind of, again, they go back to the pricing point where it just doesn't work for them. In YouTube, a lot of people are using YouTube to post their workouts to try to attract people, but YouTube, they can't really get paid very much, or if they get paid at all from YouTube. So they might as well just say YouTube is another social media platform for them. And again, being in the fitness industry is very saturated. There's a lot of companies out there, and for Hopperfit, we really have to find our niche. I want to say our niche is right here between all of these companies. It's not between being a marketplace for fitness classes, a booking and scheduling software, e-commerce for fitness, and also a crowdsourced review platform. So it's because the fitness space is so saturated, just trying to find a niche is ideal for Hopperfit. Again, the solution is Hopperfit, which is an all-in-one place for fitness. You can pretty much find everything that you need: workouts, trainers, meals, healthy meals, and anything that you need, a massage or anything that you need for fitness. And that's our product. So pretty much you can download the app today and check it out. So that's our target market.
Snaps for the no. All right, Danielle. All right, so everybody, do you want to stop sharing real quick? And then if you all want to start your reviews, and then question, Danielle, what was the biggest thing you learned through the interviews that maybe was a surprise or you didn't know before?
The biggest thing that I learned from interviews that I didn't know before, a lot of the things that I've learned, I think the interviews were more of a validation for me than they were a learning experience. Because I knew I had some assumptions about the market. I kind of knew a bit about the market because I was in the market as a trainer. So really, me um, from a trainer standpoint, really it was more of a validation. But from a hopper standpoint, when I think about it, what I learned is that most people aren't going to gyms or getting shape. Really, most of them are kind of there for the social aspect of it, right? To just be around other people, to be around a community that's helping them be better. So that was a eye catchers, and that kind of goes in play with the market of video workouts also. There's tons of video workouts on there. You can find them all over the place for free on YouTube. But the thing that kind of sets those apart from anything else is you don't really get that one-on-one personal feel with the video workout. So that's why you see a lot of trainers going more towards the Zoom. So that at least they get to be in a room with people doing the same thing. They get to talk, interact with them. So that was a thing that I learned also.
Nice. All right. Thanks again. All right, everybody, give Dinah a little snap. I have definitely done a workout on a video that's pre-recorded, and the girl's like, "Good job," and I'm like, "You can't even see me." That motivation. I don't know if y'all have experienced that, but I know that experience. It's just like, "You're doing great," which I like to hear, but also it's really odd when you know that it's pre-recorded. So I feel that. All right. So next up, we are going to have Nandini and David present. Are you all ready? And are you sharing a screen?
I am, yes.
Okay, let me give you access.
You on mute?
Yeah.
Oh, we did.
Nope, I can hear. We can hear you.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Oh, I'm in that. Oh, okay. Okay.
We see your business evaluation though, so you might not have shared the right screen.
Oh, no. Let me try again.
Okay. You should be able to select which one.
I can see it. Can you still see the business evaluation?
No, now we don't see anything.
So now go back to share.
Now?
No, you gotta go to
Oh,
share.
sorry. Sorry, Shayna.
That's okay.
Okay.
Y'all are going to learn how to share on Zoom today. This is a new skill you're learning from this class.
Can you see it now? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Nandini Jaiprasad, and this is my husband David, and we are the founders of Chickmunk Coffee. Most of you know our company, but there are some people that have just joined today. So to give a quick recap, we're a sustainable coffee company. We source from our family farms in India that grow coffee sustainably. And when I say sustainably, I mean from not deforesting the lands, growing it under the rainforests, and not using pesticides, which also not just ends up in our food, but also the community that works in the farms, it also affects them. So by not using pesticides, we're also sustaining a community of healthy individuals. And then we import it here, we get it roasted locally in Florida, and I'm getting some chats, but we also, and finally the end packaging that we present to our customers comes in fully compostable packaging. So, and that's just a little gist. And now I'm going to go to the next slide. That is, oh, wait, I think I got this group. Okay, so now the people we interviewed were between the ages of 27 to 70 and even 75, because it's coffee, you know, everyone drinks it. It was hard for us to narrow down to one particular ideal customer, but with our mentor, Kiri, we did manage to kind of hone in on someone. We interviewed people whose profession, you know, people that worked at specialty local stores, security guards that needed coffee to guard throughout the night, philanthropists, realtors, and lawyers. And then we also, you know, the people that we interviewed preferred shopping online because we have an online shop as well. They shopped at Whole Foods and other specialty grocers who we're targeting as well, and also at local farmers markets. I do have one ideal client, but I may also talk about another one. So we named our ideal client, our customer, Ali. She's an author and blogger. We didn't want to give her an age, but we did. So she's 55. She's married, she has 2 kids. And apart from being a blogger and author, she's also a philanthropist that supports charities that are dedicated to improving lives of children, conserving the environment by protecting wildlife and natural resources. And she also likes supporting family-owned businesses. Food and Lifestyle, Ali incorporates a lot of plant-based foods into her diet, and even though she doesn't consider herself a vegan, she and her family appreciate good coffee, and they take the time to grind it fresh every morning because the aroma of freshly ground coffee brings the family together. They maintain a healthy lifestyle, they work out, they do yoga and meditation. So the problem that Ali is facing right now is that they're not able to find good quality coffee that doesn't contain pesticides, and that also doesn't come in plastic packaging, because most coffee companies come in plastic packaging. So, so right now, another problem with coffee that we came across, which is why we decided to go with fully sustainable packaging, is that plastic contains, I mean, yes, not a lot of, I know we put a lot of plastic in recycle, you know, in the recycling bins, but not all of it does get recycled. In fact, most of it doesn't get recycled at all. Before they send it to China, now none of the other countries are taking it, so they're just dumping it into the ocean. And David and I are huge into, you know, not dumping more plastic into the ocean. But the second thing was also the BPA that plastic contains. We came across, just during our own personal research, we came across many studies that show that BPA mimics estrogen in women. And so people are using pods these days that are plastic pods because it's convenient, but they don't realize that every time the pod heats up and the coffee comes through it, there's BPA. So people are drinking BPA-laced coffee, which is bad. And that's why there's so many fertility issues, because the body thinks that you're ovulating, but you're not, because your body's just filled with BPA. And so we really try to educate people to not use plastic pods. If they have an espresso, to use refillable pods. And so we went with completely plastic-free sustainable packaging. That's compostable, home and industrial. And so finally, we decided that Ali and her husband came across Chickmunk coffee at a local store, and they love the quality because it's freshly roasted and they get the aroma, and it's Rainforest Alliance certified, and it comes in sustainable packaging.
And that's a true story.
And that's a true story.
Ali designed it that way. Not the name though.
And that's about it.
Awesome. All right, snaps to Nandini and David. So that was really interesting. I feel very educated, and I know a lot of other people said they did. I have an espresso, which I now would like to change. So what was the big like aha for you? Was there anything in the interviews that you didn't know beforehand or got really clear during the interviews? And everybody else, you should be scoring right now.
We actually came across a lot of people that were drawn to Nespresso because of the packaging. They said it was the packaging that looked so elegant and it just drew them to it.
In quality, perception of quality, which is going to, I think, steer us a little bit in terms of how we make some videos and educational blog posts going forward. But yeah, a lot of it was Nespresso and some other coffee companies, they have really sleek packaging and design, and that packaging and design was conveying quality, not necessarily
What was in it?
what's in it. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. I could see that. And I saw Ed had a question. How important is cost to your ideal customer? Did you discover that in your interviews?
Most of the people we interviewed said cost wasn't a problem if they were buying something that was sustainable. But for us, we do need clients that have that can spend.
But the way that I would look at it, there are a couple of ways. I mean, if you buy Nespresso, you're spending anywhere between 50 cents up to $1 a pod, depending on the type of Nespresso you get, and that's per cup. We did more digging on what our cost per cup is if you're to get specialty coffee in a bag, and our pricing relative to other specialty coffees is competitive. And in addition to that, is at least on par with Nespresso, or
no, it's much less. It's
or
much lower
less,
price
less.
per cup. An espresso pod, if you calculate the value, comes up to close to $1, and ours would come up to 50 cents a cup.
Got it. Nice. So you
I have
can
a
grind
question.
yours and put it in the pod. The
I have a question
reusable
for
pod.
everybody and all the people participating in the Accelerator program. How, and tell me what you think about this. I'd love to know how many customer interviews each of you did.
Do you guys, yeah, do you guys want to type it in the chat?
Put a number in. It's like, honestly, let's see, how many did I do?
All right, we're filling up the chat. How many did we do? Some people in Tech Runway have had to do like 50, so they might be a little higher. Yeah.
And Shayna, one thing was, it was CHIK monk, chick monk, because the coffee comes from Chikmagalur, India. I think your it auto-corrected us to CHICK in the list.
Oh no, okay, so yeah, it's on y'all. Actually, I noticed that on something that you shared, that it said like Chikmagalur, India, and I was like, oh, it's where it's from. So a good point, opportunity to educate people for sure. All right, thank you guys. That was super interesting. I need to learn a lot more about this BPA stuff, scary stuff. Okay, so next up, Saida, are you there and ready to share? I don't see you. Maybe not. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. And I'm having technical issues with this.
Okay, well,
It's
I
that
needed
to
to add
disable.
something in for you, right?
I can't share it. You have to disable it for me.
Okay. We're gonna go to Matt, and then I'm gonna get Saida set up. Matt, are you ready? Yeah?
Yep, pulling it up.
All right.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right. Can everyone see my presentation? Cool. So I'm Matt from Get Speedback, which, as everyone here knows, we're going to be changing the name at some point soon. But our product is a software platform that enables businesses to conduct simple, continuous employee performance reviews throughout the year. And we've generated this customer profile and named our ideal customer Laura, who is a partner at a South Florida-based digital marketing agency, specifically at a digital marketing agency because we've identified that type of business and that industry as being early adopters in terms of technology and different tech products. Laura herself oversees operations as an operations manager. The reason why we selected this is because it's the perfect intersection between three different customer types, one being the end user. So the size of her agency dictates that she actually participates in employee performance reviews from time to time, and she understands how frustrating that can be. She's also the decision maker in terms of what the company uses to conduct the reviews and or other software. And she is also the buyer. She uses her credit card to make purchasing decisions. So by identifying this one individual, we'll actually have a much easier time at selling our product into these types of companies, because she is the one making all the relevant decisions and feeling the pain as well. We said 40 employees and growing. This is important for us because our platform very much deals with scalability, and we want to make sure we're focusing on companies that have money and are willing to spend it on employees and employee development. The company itself has a liberal PTO policy and good benefits, just indicating that they like to concentrate on employees. They're also very forward in terms of their technology, using these other pieces of software. Laura herself, I described as a tech geek who likes to spend some of her free time improving her personal skills by reading up on things like management and business books. So what's Laura's problem? Pertaining to employee performance reviews specifically, one being there's not enough time. So there's not enough time in terms of her time. She would like to have a hand in giving feedback to all of her employees, but she just doesn't have the bandwidth to be able to do it. Additionally, she knows that her employees, specifically managers and lower level employees who are also end users, don't have a lot of time in their schedule to go through the employee performance review process. They effectively have to take a week or two every 6 months away from the work that they normally do to go through this process together. Additionally, another problem is that reviews for them are a hassle. The method that they're using is pen and paper, like many of the companies we actually interviewed, which is extremely surprising to me. Going through and using a paper and pen template is not convenient, again, in terms of time, but also storage and being able to reference the information in the future when we're looking at how employees progress from one review to another. And additionally, it's not a scalable option. When you add new employees, it just takes more and more time to do it in this manner. And also, there are other functions you're not really able to follow up on, such as goal setting or OKR setting and aligning the company's goals to the individual's goals. Being able to monitor those things on a more frequent basis, you just can't do it in this manual sort of setup that they have. So in terms of alternatives, one being the manual paper and pen model, we found that many people employ this because they feel it gives them a sense of customizability to their reviews. They feel that they can put something together and change it however they want. But again, it's difficult to file away. Typically, no one ever looks at them again, and it's just not a useful tool. Other alternatives that we found along the way in these interviews include bundled HR services, or PEOs, as many people refer to them, where there are HR tools that manage other aspects of the employee life cycle, such as hiring, onboarding, payroll, benefits management, PTO, and they also offer an employee performance monitoring function, but it's very much secondary and not very well put together and not the focus. And lastly, dedicated evaluation software. So there's other competitors in the market whose sole purpose is to provide a really good experience for monitoring employees throughout the year, seeing how they're doing, and then ultimately generating a performance evaluation. And this is our sort of most direct competition in terms of the online space. But funnily enough, it's not our direct competition in terms of the frequency that this has come up in our interviews. Actually, most of what we've come across is paper and pen or a derivation where people are using Google Docs and things to that effect. So ultimately, we feel like this is a really good target customer for us. Focusing on South Florida specifically enables us to have to get the most impact for the reach outs that we're doing. And again, focusing on digital agencies first allows us to sort of hit the early adopter phase and hone our sales and product before we decide to scale to other businesses and other industries.
Snaps for Matt. Whoop, whoop. I think Ryan's going to take over while I'm getting Sai to set up real quick.
Yeah. I had a couple follow-up questions for you, Matt. So
yeah, sure.
So are you thinking that you go after companies that are already using using one of these softwares, or do you think you go for the pen and paper ones? Because I see on the one side, like pen and paper, they probably don't change quickly because that's their nature, but they have the most to gain from something like what you have. Mm-hmm. So what are you kind of thinking there?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. It came up in our breakout discussion with Jen and Greg, and we were talking about interviewing people who are against the prospect of change or haven't gone out themselves to try to make the process easier. So it's a very fine line of like, do you have a manual process in place, and are you thinking about scaling or finding an easier solution, or have you tried to? That is a perfect customer for us because we know that they're a growing company and they're going to need to change. But at the same time, if they're too early in the game, it doesn't really make sense. And maybe we should also focus on people who have this software in place already, and we just make the case of why we're so much better or cheaper or provide better value. So I'd say it's a very gray area, both. But I think to start off with, we're going to do the companies who have a manual approach, but are obviously indicating that they're very forward thinking because of the other software that they use.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, and that probably is a pretty tight niche to get going, because I'm sure, I don't think feedback softwares are very widespread yet. So there's probably a lot that have been just kind of like looking for that, the right, waiting for the right one. But I know my work at the PGA, there's a lot of things that everybody can agree on that we don't do very well, but it's just a matter of finding that person who's going to take the initiative to get it set up and make get other people excited about it. So that makes sense, that finding that they're forward thinking, but they just haven't taken that step yet. So that seems really clear.
Yeah, sir. And also, I mean, just to lower the barrier to entry is huge as well, because if they're not bothered to try to add something else because they think it's like, oh, another piece of software I have to use. If we're able to convey, yeah, it is, but ours is special because it's really out of the way. You don't have to use the software whatsoever. Then may make it easier to convert them. But you're absolutely right. We'll have to hone it as we continue to talk to people.
Yeah, no, everything you said there was very like on point with kind of what I've experienced in terms of that like the way cultures shifts, or the way decisions are made within big companies like that. And Andy, you probably your experience at Office Depot, you probably have something to say about that too.
So, Matt and I have had actually long conversations about this. And,
okay.
in fact, he has a very interesting concept that I did talk to some of our HR leaders about, and we're going to invite him back at some point to get that more detailed customer feedback. So it's very
awesome.
It's very interesting. I mean, here's a great example of a real big problem for even small companies, and it's such a simple solution. Yeah. Okay. It's just and it's a completely different way of thinking, and that's brilliant. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Good job,
man.
What
I would be a prior Google Forms person before this, which is not the best way to do this type of feedback for sure. Awesome. All right, Saida, now are you ready, my dear? I think. Yeah, can you hear us? I know she said she was ready. Let me see. Make co-host.
It said only you can hear. I can't hear anything.
I just made you co-host, so you should be able to now. Good.
Okay.
All right, we see it.
Wait, perfect. So my interviewers, the first person I interviewed was Tina, and I really wanted to share her stories today because I felt like it was very compelling. It was really interesting. She was born with a hearing loss, and her family didn't know as well. And her parents found out about the hearing loss when she was 13. And she was also born with a vision impaired, and her parents found out about it when she was 15 years old. And it was kind of hard to listen to her story and everything that she had been through. Almost cried during the interview. And I felt very connected with her. And what she used to help with communication is hearing aid. But the hearing aid were not perfect. She can hear a sound, but she can't understand the words. And to help her understand, like, when people were talking to her, she's not able to identify, like, what direction person, like, what direction the sound is coming from. She's also not able to identify what the sounds are. So she have a service dog that tell her what the sounds are. Like if someone is knocking on the door, the dog would probably roll on the floor. If someone's talking behind her, the dog would tap on her shoulder to let her know what's happening in her environment. And then she used closed caption often for television, for one-on-one communication, and she relied heavily on people. And by now, she told me that no one would help her with communication. She usually depend on family members and friends. And they felt like she is very needy. And for that reason, though she doesn't socialize with other people, she feels like she doesn't fit in the deaf community and the hearing community as well. When she's in a deaf community, they tell her that she is hearing, and because she knows how to speak verbally. So a lot of deaf people that were born and raised in deaf community, they should have to use your voice in the sign language. And she is 52 years old, and she's currently looking for products to help her with communication. That one is Catherine. She lost her hearing ability in 2007. She was born hearing. And during the interview process, I was a little bit frustrated, a little bit, but I was supposed to be patient because we were having a hard time communicating with each other. I had to repeat myself constantly. And I spent an hour writing all my questions down so she could respond to me. And the communication barrier was very difficult, but I did it anyway. And she used to wear cochlear implants, but she doesn't wear them anymore because they're not useful. And she paid for it out of pocket, so it cost over $1,000. One last thing that she told me is that she loved music and she's no longer able to listen to music. She is not able to socialize with people. And right now, she actually started her own nonprofit organization that provides resources to people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And she is currently learning American Sign Language, and she uses closed caption for everything. And there's an app called Live Transcribe by Google. It's one of the best live captioning apps that are available out there. But she doesn't like it. She likes it, but she doesn't like it. Like she uses it for group conversation. And I asked her why. She told me that it picks up everything in the room. And this is exactly what I'm trying to stop. And she told me that she likes a company that provides live captioning, Ava, but she doesn't like it that much. The reason why she doesn't like it is because in a group conversation, you have to ask each speaker to download the app on their phone so that she can get live captioning of what they're saying on her phone. And she is 46 years old. And she is currently looking for a product to help her with communication. And she also carries a notebook with her everywhere she goes to communicate with other people. And that one is Kim. His story was very interesting to me. He's 21 years old and he is an entrepreneur. And he used hearing aid. He is the sixth generation in his family with hearing disability, and his mom is deaf and his father is hearing. And he just started learning American Sign Language. I didn't expect someone who was born and raised in that community to start learning sign language right now. I thought it was supposed to be fluent. And he relied heavily on lead feeding and closed captioning. And she said that it's genetic, like a lot of people, she has many generations in that has that hearing problem. This interview was very interesting. I invited Tracy, and we were interviewing Courtney. I realized that one of the things I found out was very interesting is that all of us, we all have a hearing disability, and our hearing loss are very similar, pretty much the same level. But Courtney, she was born and raised in the deaf community, and she relied heavily on sign language when she's communicating with someone. If she's communicating with a hearing person, she has to carry a notebook with her everywhere. But Tracy, she depends mostly on her cochlear implant. Myself, I depend mostly on me reading and my hearing aid. If I don't have those two, I'm totally lost in conversation. I can't follow. And Courtney, she spoke to me about like some negative experience that she had with interpreters. Because a lot of times, like most of the interviewers that I interviewed told me that when they have interpreters, sometimes the interpreter is not interpreting what people are actually saying. Sometimes they leave out things, they miss out on the conversation. They want to be independent. And something I found very interesting about Whitney is that when I asked her that she had any friends that were hearing, and she told me that she has a few of them. And I asked her, how did she communicate with them? And she just started laughing. I even asked her, how did she communicate with family members like hearing? She laughed and she said, we don't really communicate. She doesn't read lips very well. Tracy was trying to communicate with her, and I had to be the interpreter in the meeting, translating everything that Tracy was saying to her. And it was a very interesting experience. So she tried to avoid conversation, any hearing person, group conversation. And but she liked to socialize with people. When I asked her, do you like to socialize? Do you like to go out there and meet new people? She said yes, but she's not able to do it in a hearing environment. And other than that, people with hearing disability use is that, but they use ASL interpreters. I mentioned all of that. So they avoid conversation, they change notes back and forth during paper and pen. They use gesture. Some of them are not fluent in sign language, so they just start making random signs to communicate with people. And what I learned is that having a great technology is not enough. So customers care more about the experience than the technology. They want to know how they're going to benefit them, how does it meet their needs. A lot of those customers that I interviewed, they try so many different devices and they stop using it for a reason. When I asked them why did you stop using it, they said it doesn't like there's always something missing when they're in a conversation. They feel like they're missing out on something. I asked them how do they want to solve this? How can we make communication more accessible for them? I realized that the solution is 50. They said you need to have like technology, closed captioning, hearing aids, hopefully implant. And then the other 50% is educating people about communication accessibility, what to do, what not to do when you need a deaf person. Like the very first person I interviewed, uh, Tina, because she told me that when she go in a public place, she took her dog with her to assist for communication, and she has been forced to leave a building. She's not allowed to enter some building, and people abuse her. And it was very interesting to listen to that. So the age group that I interviewed was people who were 21 to 72 with a slight hearing loss to profound hearing loss. But my target customers are people who are 30 to 55 years old because I had a larger number of those people that were interested in what I was doing. And so I'm targeting people with a moderate to profound hearing loss because without, like, even though they have a hearing aid or cochlear implant, they still struggle to understand what people are saying no matter what. And our solution is to provide a live transcription service for people with hearing disability, and we're using a hardware. So this hardware consists of 3 different microphones, and those two microphones that you see, and those two things that you see inside or attachable microphone clips for additional speakers. So each person will wear a microphone, and each microphone will just take text in different colors to help them know who is talking to them. And in a dark environment, a LED light in each microphone would turn on to let them know what direction the person is, like what direction the sound is coming from. And we have sound, vibration, and text notification. So when a person wears the microphone computer on all the time, it picks up sound in their environment. Like if a baby's crying, the microphone will pick up that sound and it will vibrate, and then the phone will identify what the sound is. It will tell them baby crying, people laughing, door ringing, someone calling your name. So this is basically that's all for me.
All right, great job, Saida. Round of applause and snaps. Real quick question. Who on this call would like to take a training from Saida from Education on how to interact with people who have hearing loss? When you said that, Saida, I think you have a whole group of beta testers here to test your education on to go along with the technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important for all of us and definitely want to learn.
This is exactly what I want to do.
Say it again.
I said this is exactly what I want to do. That was my vision of the company, to build technology and to advocate for the deaf community.
Awesome. Well, you're doing a great job, and I'm glad I put in the post, but it's amazing to me with all the technology out there that it's still so challenging and that it's not, aren't good solutions. So I'm glad you and Tracy are on it.
Thank you.
All right, everybody filling out your scores for Saida. All right, great job. I feel like I'm learning so much on this call today, y'all. I didn't realize how much I was gonna learn on top of learning how your customers are. I'm learning like about all this other stuff. It's great. I love it.
I say that all the time. The reason I do this is not because people learn from me, it's because I learn from everybody else. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. So great. Okay, so next up, I have Jackie. Jackie, are you ready to present? Where did Jackie go?
Yes,
my screen's moving around. There you are. Okay, I know you're like, I'm right here. It's like people are moving on my screen. Okay, let me give you sharing power. Make a co-host. Okay, you should be good.
I am now the co-host, and then I have to share my screen. 1 second. See how we do this. I should know how to do this.
So there's a little green button that says share. Or maybe it should be green. I think is everybody's green? Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure before I say that. Okay. There you go.
Okay, so you see our presentation?
I just see a white screen.
You see it now?
I don't.
You share. Share. There?
Yes, we got it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so for those of you on the call who don't know who we are, who Jen and I are, and the other 3 ladies, we are Carnal Moon. And carnal is actually the phonetic spelling of the word carnal, because carnal moon means combining your divinity and your humanity into one place. Sorry about that. So we're an online co-healing space that's dedicated to bringing wellness to underserved communities in South Florida, especially for Black and Brown communities, for queer communities, for women, all of those kinds of underserved communities. So we create really unique experiences, especially now online due to COVID. Pre-COVID, they were in-person experiences that combined art and sound and meditation and journaling and thought-provoking conversations to really get to the root of what it means to connect with each other and what it means to also heal in a holistic and community-based environment with each other. So, oops, sorry. So in doing our interviews, we identified, some values and motivators to our ideal customer. And a couple of things that kept coming up were that most, if not all, are spiritual, right, in one way or another, and believe in some sort of higher power, energy source that motivates them and creates value in their life, right? And what they call that varied. They're extremely resilient and positive considering all that's going on and all that happens to marginalized people and communities. They prioritize their health and their self-care, even though they don't tend to get access to those kind of resources. Being at peace and resting are extremely important to them, although it is hard, right? Love and connection is very valuable and are also big motivators for them. And then probably the most important thing right now is feeling safe and valued. So what are the problems and pains in retrospect to the values and motivators, right? So our ideal person, or a lot of people we spoke to, feel lonely and unhappy, but there's so many things going on, they can't really pinpoint what is the reason for that, if there is even one reason, right? Forced isolation due to COVID-19 and the traumas of being a Black person in America specifically are exasperating a lot of those feelings, right? So sometimes you have family, or they have family that they can talk to, but they don't feel understood because of various conflicting things like political or religious differences, right? So there's that feeling of disconnect. And there's also the feeling of disconnect with friends because everybody's going through it right now, right? There's job insecurity, housing insecurity, financial insecurity, health and food insecurity. And if you live somewhere where there's a food desert, that's even worse. If you have children, it's even amplified because now they're home with you, and. So ultimately, they need help working through all of the things, all of the emotions, and trying to figure out how to cope in a safe space and environment. So, meet Cynthia Brown, aka Cyn, that's what we all call her. She's 30 years old and she's from West Palm Beach. She's an account manager for Chase Bank. She normally pre-COVID makes about $57,000 a year, although she has taken a pay cut due to COVID-19 furloughs. She's liberal, she's a social justice advocate. She believes that Black Lives Matter, no matter what. She's health conscious. She's thinking about becoming a vegan, but she occasionally likes a glass of Merlot at the end of the day with a piece of dark chocolate with a little bit of salt on top, sea salt. She's spiritual, but not particularly religious, but she doesn't judge other people for their beliefs, right? She loves everyone regardless. She has a 4-year-old Yorkie named Lola, and her hobbies include enjoying art, running 5Ks, whether that's virtually now or social distancing with a mask, binging Netflix, and a good book with a cup of peppermint tea. And so what are the alternatives to solving her problem, right? Right now she takes long walks outside with her dog Lola, but they're lonely because she wants to make sure that she's social distancing. People that she knows have either contracted COVID, and she might even know a couple of people that have passed away from COVID. YouTube meditations and workshops, FaceTime dates with families and friends, virtual church services, self-help podcasts and books, virtual therapy if and when she can afford it, because again, accessibility issues. And then when she can, if she's available, accessing other services and events from other online organizations and thought leaders like Ethos Club and Gaia, and listening to Therapy for Black Girls or the Call Your Girlfriend podcast. So why is Sin an early adopter? She's an early adopter because she's a Black woman in America who in one way or another is experiencing various traumas and ongoing racism that's probably going to affect her the rest of her life, systematic inequalities, lack of access to health resources and wellness. And although, yes, she does have health care and insurance through her job, she wants something a little bit more intimate and intentional for her self-care, and something that's that she can see a tangible growth, not just, oh, I'm going to go for my annual checkup, or I have a cold, so I need to go get medicine for that. That doesn't really enrich her emotionally and spiritually. She's actively searching for a solution to her unhappiness and loneliness, so her intent to engage is high, right? She's single and has passive income to invest in solving her problems, so her intent to purchase is also high. And she's looking for intimate connections with others in her community, personal, spiritual, and emotional healing in a COVID-19 world, and is open to getting that through online connections, which makes her an extremely qualified lead for our online membership solution platform that we are working on building. And again, so why are we the solution? We're the solution because we offer a variety of wellness-based workshops and live events that are geared towards marginalized communities that we too are a part of, especially communities of colors. We're women, some of us are queer, some of us are differently abled. And so we offer that unique perspective to be able to help women like Sin improve her overall well-being. And every time we develop a program, it is specifically with her and people like her in mind. Our offerings, once again, are intentional, where we're making sure they're interactive and they're unique, and they're enhancing your senses and the way that you're experiencing things, so that you really do feel like you're transforming emotionally and spiritually inside. And our overall focus is really to continue to build and enrich our local community, so that we can continue to provide a safe space right now online, to help the Sins of the world heal from the trauma and the stressors that are unique to them. So that's Carnamoon, and that's Sin.
Woo woo! Snaps for Carnal Moon and Jackie's presentation. I would like to hang out with Sin and have the chocolate and wine part, if that's allowed. All right, so while you all are filling that out, Jackie, quick question. What was the biggest epiphany y'all had during interviews? Anything big that wasn't apparent before?
I'll definitely let Jen answer for herself, but for me, I know that the women and the men that have attended our events are so unique and so special, but to sit down and talk to them and really get their perspective as to why they feel the way they do, or why they prioritize their self-care so intentionally, and they really like protect that, and the fact that they are aware that this is critical and crucial for them. I was like, wow, because I know before Jen has always been like, they will pay for it no matter what we charge. Trust me, this is necessary. This is like a necessary bill. But I wasn't really sold that it was necessary for people. I'm like, oh, therapy, health insurance, like they need that. But it's like, no, this kind of dynamic, interactive community of self-care and emotional and spiritual enrichment, and where we pour into each other and really value that and help each other grow, they really do value that and will open their wallets and pay for that and see that as an essential part of their healthcare.
I love
like,
it.
oh, there's people that really think like that, like I do, and just to have that conversation with them, and they're like, take all my coins, here's my money. It was like, oh wow, okay, this really is. So for me, that was extremely eye-opening. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
I'll go ahead and echo that as well. For me, it was very validating, just because I do have a lot of friends that, focus on that as well, but just to hear how specific it was and why people find wellness to be so integral was really validating, in the way that I knew that people appreciated it, but just COVID happening, everyone's realizing how important it is and how their wellness centers how they move in other parts of their lives. That was really cool, and validating.
That's awesome. I love it. I liked your distinction too between what you do and going to a doctor, because I do think it's very different, and the concept of that I think people are becoming more aware of now. So I love that kind of came up in what you were talking about, and that it's not like an alternative. It's totally different essentially to what they're doing. So love that. Nice job, ladies. Snaps all around. Whoop, whoop. All right. Next up, we have Rodrigo. Are you ready, Rodrigo? Let me make
Oh,
you
yeah.
able to share. I feel like Rodrigo has something. I don't know. There's some technical thing because he's asked me about, so I'm excited to see this. All right, here we go. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Yes, I do.
Good. All right, take it away.
Looks like it's wrong screen.
Oh, I saw Neptunia customer discovery.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it looked right to me. Unless you have another one.
No, that's the one.
Okay. Yep, it's up.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Neptunia Ocean Power is a company dedicated to develop clean and renewable ocean energy, and a little bit of this customer discovery process. First thing I've been learning so much is being really transformational to really go deep into the customer. And so starting with the needs and problems, of course the core need is energy, but it comes with a couple of features. It needs to be reliable, cost-effective, and abundant, and also comes with some problems today. That's carbon emission and life harming. And I say life harming in so many ways. Even renewables have the potential to harm life. For instance, horizontal windmills usually kill birds because they can see it, they get hit in the head. So vertical windmills are some design way to avoid that. The birds see the equipment. I've also detailed a little bit about solution hypothesis, but I'm going to skip this because I think this is next cycle. I'll focus on the customer discovery for now. So I found a first customer segment is going to be when the power grid is off. So it might be caused by natural disasters or by human factor, like cyber attacks or even harder attacks. We're going to also have a second customer segment when the power grid is on. It's going to really rely on clean, conscious business and consumers. We also have a third segment that it's off-grid operations like power at sea or isolated communities that are off the grid. And there's also transportation with the electric fleet also coming. But I'm going to focus on two of the customer segments, and I call the first one as a low-hanging fruit or the early adopters in energy perspective. So I'm going to go deep into both of them. And I try to slice all the different actors because it's not only one customer, it's the end user, the buyer, the channels, and everything. So the end user for this, remembering customer segment number one is when the power grid is off caused by natural disasters. So the end user will be people in distress, injured or evacuated. The channels to supply the energy for those people are the critical infrastructures, hospitals, shelters, emergency responders. And then we have a sub-segment, and I found this on the interviews, very, very good finding. The first one is developed communities. On that group, we usually have working backup generators and a fuel supply that guarantees as an alternative, as an emergency energy alternative. And the buyers would be local government, city, towns, county, power companies, and the responders. I talked to some of them, and they said they don't need it because the infrastructure is already in place. And even for this scenario, clean energy won't be a really big advantage because we're losing lives. It doesn't matter if the energy is clean or not at that moment. But luckily, or sadly, we had another group that's not so fortunate. And we're talking about developing countries, isolated islands, and underserved communities. The alternative for this group is no alternative. It's power outage. It means blackouts on hospitals and shelters. The good thing that I found, again, within interviews, that we can tap on the defense budget for this, especially for developing countries. There's also international organizations that help, like the Inter-American Development Bank. They have funds to help build resiliency, especially for the neighborhood countries of the USA. Also, insurance companies are willing to mitigate those risks by investing in resilience. All right, so going to the second and last customer segment I explored is when the power grid is on. So remembering we need, this demand will come from clean awareness. This is nothing easy to accomplish, but the end user is every electricity consumer, residential, commercial. The channels are the power company who provides the energy. Alternatives right now is the current fossil fuel energy mix, and right now we are in the US with 83% fossil fuel still on the electricity generation mix. The fuel consumption is even worse than that, but electricity is that. And the buyers will be power companies, Department of Energy, and National Science Foundation kind of thing. I also started a survey, and I have some preliminary findings from 56 responses I have, so it's still running, but I thought it was awesome to share already. One of the questions is, would you pay more for clean energy? And the response was awesome. 79% said yes. And I asked how much more. The average is $46 a month on average. This is awesome. I thought it would be around $8, $9 a month, but it's that. And on the business side would be $99 a month on average. So great findings to help explore both of the customer segments. And this is it.
Nice job, Rodrigo. Snaps and claps for Rodrigo. Yeah, you had a lot to break down there. I saw all the different components, and Jackie said she didn't know, and I didn't know that windmills kill birds. And what is that about? That was an unknown fact.
So many. And luckily, we have animations on the slides. There's so many words there.
Awesome. So Rodrigo, I know you said you learned kind of the different segments. Anything else that came to light about, the initial innovators or people that you really want to start speaking to more?
Oh, definitely it's helping me to understand what's the company or the first prototype should be targeting. One of the big questions I still have is, can I focus on small micro scale generation? I'm talking about 10 kilowatt power unit, or do we need to go to megawatt? And I'm learning a lot on where I can put the dial in. And another good thing is that the company is super early stage, so I'm not attached to anything. I can change, I can pivot because there's nothing still. So I really recommend to do it first day on when we start a project, so you can just play around and understand a better way to start, because you can do it all later, but we need something really easy, low hanging fruit to start. And I think I'm getting to see it better with the interviews.
Awesome. Love it. Snaps, claps again for Mr. Rodrigo with your cool headset. I kind of want to get one of those too.
Yeah, it's a gamer headset. I think it's the great microphone you have for
I can hear you
your
very
buck.
clearly.
Yes.
So it's amazing. Awesome job. Can't wait to hear more through your process of what you learn. I'm really excited to hear what comes from that.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Miss Sanuela. Are you ready? I will make you a host. Here we go. Make co-host. Okay. You should be able to share whenever you're ready. There you go. Okay.
Hi guys, welcome to my presentation. All right, so I've been working with the youth for about a year and change now, teaching and creating engaging ways to connect them to whole foods through agriculture by going to schools and building gardens, and creating curriculums that aligns with the school's curriculum and providing an engaging and knowledgeable garden instructor. That way we ensure that students get access to this knowledge without depending on a teacher to put the extra work in to sustain the garden. For my interviews, I really wanted to focus on finding people who had children or worked with children. So I spoke to parents, teachers, principals, therapists, caregivers, after school directors, pediatric dietitians, nutritionists, the whole works. The questions I asked were geared towards validating the problem AGC intends to solve, which is introducing the use to whole foods through agriculture. I found that a lot of the folks that worked with children in the education system had the same pains. Children, they just found like children were cooped up in the schools all day mostly. They get some outside time, but it's not a lot. They kind of go stir crazy, and it's really hard to manage towards the end of the day. And they also noticed, like the OG teachers and people who worked in the education system, they really noticed that there had been an increase in behavioral challenges throughout the years. They also noticed that although children like being outside, some are so unfamiliar with physical activity that they get tired faster and more easily. All of this was, as you can imagine, very validating. After speaking with a few people, I started to notice something about my target audience. So I thought my target audience was schools and community centers, public spaces that mostly serve the youth. So all of that kind of started to shift. A lot of the folks I spoke with had two things in common, which is parenting during COVID. They're stuck in the house with their families. They started noticing some things about their families, especially their children, right? So they started noticing their children's real hard aversion to going outside and being active and eating what's on their plate at the dinner table. It's a very difficult time in a lot of families' homes right now when it comes to eating and, getting their kids out there to do something physical. I spoke with one mother who actually said, her child is refusing to eat anything other than mac and cheese and pizza right now. So what she used to be really busy, and that was oftentimes an option for dinner. So, you know, they oftentimes had just really quick, easy meals. But now that she's home more and she enjoys cooking and she's experimenting with recipes, she's, you know, cooking all of these new things for her family. And a lot of it is a little geared towards the healthier side because she's using this time to kind of, you know, get things under control in her home. And her 9-year-old is not having it, not a bit. These parents were, and I heard a lot of these stories from a lot more parents, you know, and these parents were really communicating to me, I realized, that they would love to find engaging activities outside that would hold their child attention, right? And wouldn't it be a bonus if that outside activity could involve everyone in the home and encourage and inspire the children to form a better relationship with whole foods? So with all of that information, I created my first consumer, and I'm going to introduce you to her right this minute, right? So her name is Chantel Wilson. Here's Chantel. She's 33 years old. She's a mother and she's a wife. You know, she like loves her family. She has a 5-year-old daughter. Her daughter's literally like maybe 15 though, in her own mind, kind of runs the house, loves her gadgets, you know, very opinionated little girl. Chantel loves yoga when she can make it because a lot of the times, you know, she's busy taking care of her family. Chantel's a history teacher. She's working from home right now. And it is a little bit stressful for her because she's had to, you know, switch like everyone else has to really just teaching her whole curriculum online. And there was a big learning curve. She's a great cook. She loves cooking. And now that she has more time to cook, she's just, you know, like cooking all the things. She loves nature. She's always loved nature, although she never really had time to be in nature like that. She, you know, worked and just kind of came home, made dinner, and, you know, that was the routine of the day. But now she's finding that, oh, I've got like some time to just like be in the backyard and, you know, sit and get some sun. So she's really loving that part of quarantine. Go, Chantel. She is a new gardener because she's had some time, right? She's bought a few house plants. She's like, oh, you know, I can get into like all of this new stuff now. She's kind of started a garden. She started some seeds. She's watching YouTube videos. She's just getting in it. But because Chantel didn't really have the time, right? I think I'm ahead of myself. Hold on. Okay, so Chantel has picked up some new hobbies since she started working from home. She's gotten a few house plants, like I said. Okay, so because Chantel didn't have time before to really commit to growing her green thumb, she's kind of having like a tough time, right? She really wants to do this thing, but she's finding that there's kind of a learning curve, just kind of like when she had to start teaching her curriculum online. She's just finding that it's really much harder than she thought. You know, she's like, oh, I can grow food, I can start seeds, I can whatever, but things are dying and Chantel needs help. And she's joined some Facebook groups about gardening and plants. She posts her questions and concerns there, but they don't always get answered. You know, sometimes they do. And sometimes she even gets like 2 to 3 different answers on her questions. So she's a little confused. She's just like, what am I supposed to do? Who's an expert? Where do I find them? So she's also started following a few blogs and accounts on Instagram that have inspired her, as well as provided her with great information, right? I think Chantel is a great first adapter because she is hungry for this information. Like, she wants her family to get healthier. She wants to focus on, you know, being in nature more. She finds that it's a very therapeutic thing for her because she's teaching and online now, virtually. It's really stressful, and she finds that it's just like wonderful after a day of teaching to go outside and do some gardening. You know, like, she hears the birds, she sees the sunset, she's feeling the wind. It really de-stresses her, and she loves doing things like this with her whole family because she really believes that she's encouraging something you know, truly magical and truly fulfilling in her children and in her family. So that is Chantel. Thank you.
Woo woo. Snaps for Anuela. There's some people that sound like they can relate on this chat, and it made me think of I don't know if y'all saw the Shonda Rhimes post where she had, I think, her kids home for like 6 hours, and she was like, teachers deserve $1 million, because she started to realize what it was actually like to experience having the kids at home. So I think you're onto something with that. All right, everybody, you want to give some feedback to Anuela? So Anuela, that's a shift for you, right? From these interviews. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, quite a shift. You know, I've always geared and, you know, like kind of thought of myself. Never have I really put a green community in a box, you know, because I really wanted to reach everyone, all individuals in all communities. But I've always geared it towards schools and the education system. But now I'm finding, wait a minute, families and, you know, like moms, they really need this because their kids are home all the time. And now they're becoming teachers, you know, they are homeschooling a lot, especially when school opens back up. That's what we're doing. We're not going back to school. So kids are going to be home for a long time.
Yeah, I know my sister's mentioned she is having a hard time finding activities to do to keep her kids motivated all the time. So I'm going to share this with her, that she can start gardening with them. What a fun new thing for her. I love it. And the dads too. The dads can garden. I just want to make sure I said that, even though I know your target is the mom. But dads want to garden. Kids, you go for it. I love it. All right. Awesome. Okay, next up we have Adrian. Adrian, are you ready?
Hello, yes, I am.
Hello. Can I make you co-host?
I gotta share my screen. Am I co-host
Okay.
yet?
Yes, you are.
Make sure I share the right thing. Okay, all right. How's it going, everybody? To the mentors that may not know who I am, I'm Adrian. Prior to April 2020, that was me on the left. A young little caterpillar before 1909, and now that's also me turned into a butterfly, and I believe we're in July now. There's a reason for this. Sorry, my eyes are very watery right now. It's because we've pivoted. Well, just the name. So we came in as Gritly, and right now the company is called Voice Blast. And for those that don't know what Voice Blast is, it's the most powerful tool to grow and engage your podcast audience. So the value that we bring to the creators. So we help creators grow and engage their audience through effortlessly creating 60-second voice clips that are created directly from their phone, and they're shared out to the network and their fans and different social media platforms. So with the interviews, the interesting things that I discovered were essentially bringing the problems down to sort of 4 main issues that are sort of in sequence. So this pain is felt by like 1 million different creators. At the first level, they feel there's audience discovery problem. Right after that, there's connecting with listeners that actually listen to their shows. And when eventually they do connect with a small subset, there's sustainable audience engagement and management issues that they face because they have to go through traditional social media platforms. And lastly, there's monetization problems, right? 98% of creators don't know how to make money at all. 99% of them don't make anything. So podcast is very much 1% of the entire podcast world actually makes any money. And there's a reason for this. There's just way too many tools, right? People have to use Patreon and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, MailChimp to connect with listeners and send information Shopify to sell stuff, Headliner to make these small little clips that go into social media platforms. People have to build websites and use Twitter. And all this leads to churn. It's, there's so much churn in podcasting that there's a term for it. It's called pod fade, where you release your first 6 episodes and then you disappear right after that. And that's about 50% of the industry. So very interesting. Sorry, one more thing. So, sorry guys, let me just, so with all this discovery, I mapped out what the industry looks like right now. And this is my core thesis, right? So at the very top of everything, there's a discovery layer, right? You can think of it like a software stack. There's a discovery layer at the top, and Apple and Spotify and Google control that, right? So coming in with any product at the very top, you probably lose out. And word of mouth is there as well too. That's primarily how people discover shows. They own the algorithms, they own the platforms. 80% of it is between Spotify and Apple. Right underneath that, there's a consumption layer, which is Apple and Spotify primarily owning that layer, right? Right underneath that, there's a connection where creators connect with their listeners, and it's on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, right? That's where the innovation stops. Apple and Spotify have not created anything further down of this engagement stack. So now there's an engagement problem because there's nothing being created. There's a monetization issue because there's nothing being created. And there's a community issue, which comes after monetization. Why is this important? It's important because for anyone to make money, you have to go through the stack. You have to discover, people have to discover you, they have to listen to your show, they have to connect with you, they have to engage with you and feel like they know you and get value, and then you can monetize down the line, right? Podcasters that have been able to do that have massive machines behind them, the Joe Rogans of the world and the Obamas of the world. They're able to sort of pay their way through this entire stack. But for 99% of the creators, there's nothing. So with that, let me introduce you to Courtney. Courtney is 34. She's in a long-term relationship. She's an urban dweller, entrepreneur extraordinaire, right? Makes over $60,000 a year. She runs a small business. She's a web developer, and she's a tech early adopter, has all the new gadgets. She's very active on Instagram and Facebook, but finds it challenging to keep up. There's just so much content she has to create. She's been doing her podcast for over a year. She struggles with the growth of her show. She hopes to make money from her show, but she's not hopeful because advertisers want a certain amount of numbers before they can actually put money into your content. She doesn't necessarily have a tremendous amount of podcast marketing knowledge just quite yet. She wants to become a speaker and to travel the world, speaking to different engagements about the growth mindset. Time is important to her, and she's willing to pay to get the result that she wants in anything that she does. She values community and personal growth, and she also is a podcast consumer, listening to about 3 to 5 hours of podcasts a week. That's Courtney. And main thing I learned, it's a bigger problem than I anticipated. This is good. This is good. There's money here. So it's a huge problem, so much so that one of the VCs said that this is a $30 billion problem, which is interesting because the industry itself is only $1 billion. So essentially what's happening is you've got this industry that's growing and everybody's interested in consuming podcasts, but it's got $1 billion market cap. That doesn't make sense, right? The amount of content that's created and consumed is not equivalent to the amount of money that's been made. So whoever creates this platform that is able to bust out and unlock this value essentially is going to build a huge company. And with that, we've redesigned our product. It's more streamlined. Voice Blast is now purely about creating this on-the-fly audio content that is then sent out to your network. People can come in, consume this content, and because they like it, they share it with their friends and family. And because it's 60 seconds, people will listen to it. The last time someone said, hey, check out this podcast, you looked at it and you're like, that's an hour and a half. I don't have time for that. But this way, it's 60 seconds, you like, might as well. And it's another 60 seconds and another 60 seconds and another 60 seconds. And now you know this creator and their show can get to grow. So There's a couple more things around creating more advertising opportunity. Usually it's one podcast a week and 3 slots to generate money. But with this, the more you blast, the more you can advertise, right? Like you can just talk about the shirt you have on right now as you talk about, personal well-being or whatever, finance, and that can be an ad spot. So now it goes from being 3 times a week on average that you can actually advertise on your podcast to now being able to do it unlimited times using Voice Blast. So we really just try and open up the monetization opportunities there. And that is it.
All right, snaps, claps for Adrian.
Wait,
With
I
that
don't know.
big shift through that process, which is pretty amazing in such a short period of time, seeing what you came up with, Adrian. So pretty awesome. So Tiffany says, the blast in addition to longer form podcast.
It's like Twitter podcast. That's exactly what I call. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Twitter podcasting.
So while y'all are filling out the forms, Adrian, so I have a question. Was there a reason that your target customer is female that you determined through the interviews?
Sorry, say that again.
Was there a reason, what helped you determine that your target user is female?
It's really not. It's about 50-50. I chose to go with a female, a woman, because I thought that you would get more of a reception with regards to people relating to who that person is. But there could very much be a male version of that ideal customer. And that's really just 99% of creators are pretty much people that are of that in terms of like their social status. It's very, very similar. So you have like folks like Courtney, and then you have Joe Rogan. That's kind of like how the scale goes.
Gotcha. Okay, so in the interviews, there wasn't a big differentiator there.
No, the interviews were just, by the 10th interview, I sort of heard the same thing over and over again. But what was interesting, if I can just share this, was that most people don't know how to describe the problem. So, I kind of really had to think about what they were trying to tell me. Because if I think about the problem, I think about existing tools. This way we have to almost create something new. And that's kind of like puts me in no man's land where like, okay, I'm anticipating that this might solve the problem because people are not telling me they want a voice blast. It's like no one said they wanted Twitter, right? So, it's sort of in that same boat.
Cool. Awesome. And I love the caterpillar to butterfly. One of my favorite slides. That was so fun. Great. I love that. You're just going to continue to blossom into this butterfly. And I can't wait to try the new design Voice Blast. I have tried doing Voice Blast on the system. It was really fun. So for those of you who hadn't, check it out. And you can listen to other people in this group like Ryan and
Ryan's my super creator right now.
Yeah, Ryan's early. You should have just put Ryan's picture up there. I feel like he is the ideal user because he's made all the voice blasts. All right, awesome. Great job, Adrian. All right, we're going to move on to Greg. Greg, are you ready?
I am.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a co-host. There you go. Oh, you're going to stand up?
Yeah, got to stretch my legs a little bit.
Like it.
I was like all amped to do it early on today, and I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and I'm feeling it now. So, all right.
You got this.
Cool. So let's share the screen, and we are going to start. All right, so I'm going to take it a little bit differently because I have a whole monologue basically set up from my customer's perspective. So I'm going to just put it right here so I can look at it. But I'll just dive right on in. So I'm going to reiterate, Beginning Beginners is an online education platform helping Gen X and baby boomers learn how to use the technology in their day-to-day lives to connect better with people. I've been working through this business idea for the past year and a half, and I had basically already figured out who my ideal customer was, and these interviews were a good process to figure out if my ideas were correct and if they were valid. And I learned a lot along the way. But right now I'm just going to give the little customer monologue, and then at the end of it, I'll just review everything with you guys. So, hi, my name is Linda Jones. I'm a 65-year-old soon-to-be retiree, and I'm excited for the next chapter in my life. After raising 3 children and who now have children of their own, I'm ready to explore more of the world and explore and discover more of who I am. I have an iPhone, but I understand just the basics. I used to be an amateur photographer growing up, and I'd like to keep on taking pictures, especially now that I'm traveling and I have grandkids. The problem is I never know how to navigate my phone, and even though my kids are always teaching me how to use the technology, it's hard to keep up, even with all these little changes that keep happening. I wish there was a place I could go to that gave me all this information so I didn't have to keep sorting through all the different articles out there. The problem is there's just so much to learn, and I don't know what I don't know. And on top of that, does any of this actually matter to me? Because there's so much out there, how do I even find what means something to me? Currently, I have to rely on my tech literate family, and we'll go through notebooks, and I'll start creating like these personal guides where I can refer back to this information in the future. But inevitably, I lose the notebook, I forget what I wrote down, I forget why I wrote it down, and I'm basically back to square one. What that ends up doing for me is I go to Google to start finding some of this information, but I don't really know who to trust, because sometimes I'll find an article and they tell me how to do something, but one of the steps talks about this other feature I've never heard of before in my life. And now I somehow have to learn how that other feature works to figure out how I want to do what I want to do. And then I'm stuck in this Google rabbit hole, and I'm just exasperated and tired of going through all of this. I've tried YouTube too, but I don't really find a personality on there that I like. And it's hard to find somebody that I actually feel like I'm learning from. At the end of the day, I have a lot of free time on my hand right now, and I want to learn how to use the iPhone better, and I want to learn how to use technology better to connect with my family and to just really have more fun in the final years of my life. I wish I spent more of this time in the early years of technology learning all of it, but I'm kind of tech challenged for now, and I want to get over that. And more than anything, like, I'm on a fixed income, and even though I'm on a fixed income, I'm willing to spend the money to help with the things that cause me anxiety, because I'm gonna learn a lot more from it. I'm gonna enrich my life, and I'm just gonna enjoy my life all the more. So yeah, that's the basic customer persona and perspective. One of the biggest things I learned through my customer interviews was, I've had this written down literally since last January, some form on this. I've tweaked a little bit here or there, so it was really fresh. It was really exciting to go into these interviews and hear this. And I was telling Jen and Matt, like, I'm almost scared, because I kept doing these interviews and hearing everything that lined up with what I wrote a year ago. And I was waiting for that one thing to blow up my whole business. But it didn't happen, except I did discover 2 different customer markets in this space. My early adopters are the people I mentioned here, like Linda. Linda's the early adopter because she knows what she wants to do. She knows she's retiring. She sees value in the devices and the family communication. And she's tried to learn on her own and struggled, but continues to try anyways. I've also found people who are just comfortable knowing what they know, and they don't really seek out any more information because they don't really feel like there's anything else out there, and they're totally okay with it. But people like Linda, these early adopters, they become the big champion of the membership platform, because the moment I get somebody like Linda excited about it, and she tells her friend who never thought they could learn, never wanted to learn, never bothered to learn, now all of a sudden is more convinced to jump onto the platform and be a part of it. So the whole interview process has been really great to keep seeing that. I told Matt and Jen, I'm still a little bit scared. Like, I'm waiting for somebody to blow up the whole business plan, but I'm not seeing it yet. So this is my customer persona and whole thing.
Whoop, whoop. All right. Snaps for Greg. I love how creative you all are in doing these different types of presentations. Greg, thank you for the monologue. That was awesome. I actually think it could be really valuable for you all to try speaking as your customer and see how that goes. I think that's a really cool exercise. that I never would have thought of before. So Greg, you any like crazy takeaways that you didn't share
Yeah.
already?
Women are more apt to doing this than men. Something I thought was really interesting was how often the women were comfortable, specifically baby boomer females, were more comfortable to say, I don't know what I don't know, and I want to take pictures of my grandkids. How can I do it? Some of the men were like, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't care. And I'm kind of like, okay. And then some are like, I don't know what I don't know, and I'm totally okay with it. But the women were almost like passionate and hungry to get after it, to make something. I interviewed Leslie's mom, and she was talking about how she makes like these travel itineraries before she goes traveling, and she takes all these photos, and she's like, I want to get back on that. Like, I want to learn how to do more of that. And that's like an excitement that I kept seeing from women over and over and over again. And I've been doing like customer trainings to this degree since I was 10 years old. And it's always the women that are in this space where they're super excited to learn and the guys aren't as much. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if it's a machismo thing, but like, it's definitely a thing that kept coming up, and I'm exploring it more. I'm lucky that old ladies love me, so it makes the conversation really easy. But
Greg,
yeah.
we're used to convincing men to do certain things and following our leads, so you can start with down that path.
That's what I keep thinking.
Yeah, yeah. You get the woman hooked, you get the man.
The
for
guys
sure.
come right after.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Great. All right. Awesome job. Love it. You had some good comments on there. Sometimes I feel like Linda, if I'm being honest with myself. So not 65 and almost retired, but takes me a while. And I get the thing about having to click from one link to another link to learn about the thing they're talking about in that link. Drives me freaking nuts. So relatable. All right. You guys, we have two more. Let's bring the energy. Two more presentations. These have been so good so far. I love it. All right, Shane, you are up next, and then we're going to have Mr. Ryan Poole round out the night because we know that energy is going to come for the end. So, Shane.
Okay.
All right, let me give you
Oh,
co-host. You're sharing? Okay, here we go.
Am I sharing? Yes, let's try.
You got it?
I think so. How do I change the screen that I'm sharing?
It should give you a view option.
Oh, what do you see there? Do you see
You
like
see something that says customer question.
Oh, okay, yeah. So anyway, so Paradied, right, is it's a messaging app, and my goal is to improve the engagement. You know, talking to children, you know, the parent-child relationship there. And what the app does is it creates, just in brief, a thing like you see on the left here, which is a story book that looks like a comic strip. And you can customize it and download it from well-known franchises like Snoopy here, or it also gives the ability for your kids or whoever else to draw and create and upload their own themes.
Shane, are we supposed to be seeing pictures? I just want to make sure if we are.
No, it's just one. It's just that one screen right now.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, it's just because I didn't have I've actually never had a image there before, so I just given you the idea of like what a like a Snoopy cartoon looks like when you're talking to your friends, right? You can pick your different characters and all of that stuff. So I went through the the customer questions, and basically what I needed to know was a couple of things just about how people communicate, which is what type of apps they were using. How frequently do they call versus pick up the phone, all this type of thing, whether or not your children are into comic books or are you into comic books, or do you use your phone for entertainment, or is it strictly for business, and all this type of stuff. So I had a brief set of 10 questions, all around this concept. Which led me to, quite interesting, I guess, answers. So I compiled from that information who I thought my customers are going to be, my initial customers. So I drew up a few different, three different initial customer. So here's the first one. Do you see Danielle? So Danielle is a mom and she's also an art teacher, right? So she loves to sketch with her daughter, and she keeps sketchbooks, and they share these, sketches between each other. And sometimes if it's really good, they'll take photos of them and they upload them to Pinterest or Instagram, but there's no real way to, to share this type of medium. So her mom obviously wants to encourage this artistic talent, and she doesn't know how to do it. So now that COVID is in, the world, she has to homeschool. And the problem is there's no classroom that has all these tools to, to work on their artistic talents. So they've been pushed to, use their devices like their iPad to draw and build, their ideas there. So where Parodied will come in is it'll allow these kids to be able to, draw their own characters and build their own environments, and they'll be allowed or be able to share these creations with their friends. So what Maya is doing here is she's creating characters, and she's able to share them with family and 3 of her best friends. And when she talks with them on her phone, she's able to, assign these little characters to her friends, and they basically all interact, through this comic book theme versus just your standard text messaging. So my first customer would be Maya and her mom Danielle here, and mom gets a kick out of seeing her daughter's creativity being used, in a I guess a more open fashion. Hopefully, will give her some more confidence. So that's the first customer. The second one here is Karim and his son Sam. So Sam just got his new first phone, and he loves SpongeBob, right? So he's constantly on YouTube, but his dad is trying to get him to engage more because all he does is, watch TV. So Sam has asked his dad to download this new app because, he loves SpongeBob so much that he wants to be able to talk to his dad with this new medium called Parodied. And he wants to use Patrick, SpongeBob's best friend, as his dad's character. So dad checks it out, and he realizes that Parodied actually has some tools in it that allows an adult to organize their online life. What I discovered through the customer surveys is that majority of people, their online life is a complete mess, right? So a lot of people have multiple emails. At least a bunch of customers that I talk to have like over 50, 60,000 emails in their, in their inbox at one time. And they use Slack and they use text messaging, and it's just a jumble, and they have no idea how to manage these multiple apps that they use all the time. So Karim here has found, that through Parodied, he is able to combine all these sources, and it allows him to help, his communication along with talking to his, his child as his favorite character. So this would be Sam and his dad here. So right now, Karim uses his notifications bar on his phone to figure out how to, jump between Slack and email and text messaging. And right now, that's really the only way to manage all these different sources. So the last one is this Matt here. Now, Matt's a little hard on luck, but he's a single dad, and he works hard to provide for his son. He doesn't earn much, so when his son wanted a new phone, he gave him his old one, and it doesn't have a data plan, so he's not able to text message. So his opportunity or his alternatives are to use Facebook Messenger, and there's a few communication apps out there. But generally, his dad is a little worried about, getting his kid to talk online. So John, his son, has a friend called Maya in school, and she found this new app, and she wants to share it with John here, and it will allow them to communicate with each other. Now, the app is very, I guess, COPA compliant. So it'll allow his dad to only allow certain people to talk with him. and the focus there will allow him, I guess, a little more trust in downloading and using this app for kids. So he's also trying to encourage his son to be more creative, and he's trying to basically encourage his artistic side. So I would think these are my basic free parental starting customers, and that's what I've learned through this experience.
Awesome. Snaps for Shane. You brought it full circle with Maya at the end. I caught that. Maya's introducing it to her friend. So yeah, as you guys are filling this out, a couple questions for Shane. So Shane, do you see this, based on what you said, are kids telling kids about it? Do you see that as how it takes off?
Yeah, well, if they want to share, their creations, if kids, are using it and it's fun with their parents, I would think that they, well, let's just say when I was talking to the customer interviews, the first question was, you want to talk to me or my child? They were, they were very strict.
That too, like
they were like, I had to like amend like my question. I was like, this is strictly for parents right now. So I would see, as it grows, some I guess native, growth and interest there, so people can share this stuff. But yeah.
Awesome. Okay, wait, stop sharing real quick so I can see the group.
Oh, yeah.
I have a question to the group. When Shane talks about the characters, who starts thinking about what comic character they want to be? I do. Anybody else? Is that going through your head? Of like, who am I going to pick? I don't really know the SpongeBob characters, so I can't go for those, but I'm excited to see the assortment I get to choose from.
You don't want to be Patrick, let's just say that.
Okay, I'll make sure I avoid Patrick, but I'm excited to see the options of who I can choose as my character and other people's characters. That's really fun. Awesome. All right, final snaps for Shane, and now we are going to bring up Ryan Poole to close us out on presentations. Are you ready, Ryan?
I am. Hey, good job, guys, on these presentations. I have to say, I'm impressed. It's good. It's been a long night, but it's been great, and I've enjoyed watching all of you. So, all right, let's do the real trade. Awesome. Okay. All right, do the share screen. All right, can you all see it? See the screen here?
Yep, we see it.
All right, all right, good, you can hear me. All right, so let me pull up, all right, this view is fine. So this is the Real Trade. As you know, I don't know if most of you know that Real Trade is it's a technology platform for real estate. It's a competitor to Zillow, but it's very disruptive in the business model that it has. It's community owned and curated, which is very forward-thinking model. And it's a big differentiator that we have for all these other online real estate platforms. It's actually owned and curated by the content creators, which are the real estate agents and the brokers. A lot different than what's happening in Zillow. So this is my ideal customer. And this is actually a real customer. This is someone that I actually interviewed. I interviewed 14 agents, and this is probably the one that I would say hit everything perfectly. His name is Alex, and he's an agent. He has a group called the Hay Group with eXp Realty. Okay, he's 40 years old. He's very successful in his real estate business. He's well into the six figures. He's actually been doing it for 15 years here in Florida, and 15 years that he knows the pain points in the industry. He's been around. He knows the online portals and a lot of different things and pain points. And he's been building an online presence, but wants to grow it even more. It's very tech forward. He's used Zillow a lot. He's actually spent as much as $30,000 a month to Zillow, if you can imagine that for a second. And he's been trying to wean himself off over Zillow for the years. He's actually still on his spend $3,000 a month still to Zillow. He uses other online lead gen tools, SEO, PPC, HomeLight. He's even used Realtor.com and some other things. But the big thing here is just something as why he's a real early adopter in this, and this is huge, is he has a very disruptive brokerage that he's a part of. Okay, this eXp Realty. It's incredible. It's actually the fastest growing brokerage in the United States. And I knew a little bit about him before I started these interviews. I actually didn't know anything about him before I started Real Trade. but they have basically a brokerage where it's agent owned, where you actually can start your own franchise in EXP, get, just like your broker, like you own your own franchise, have your team and get a piece of their team, but then they also, based on your success, give you stock options in EXP. So you actually own an EXP once you achieve certain levels. So it actually dovetails very nice with what Real Trade's doing. So this is huge. I mean, so he's and he understands blockchain. He actually has invested in crypto, and he understands these decentralized systems, obviously with his brokerage. And the big thing is too, he's really well connected in real estate. He's very well known actually in the Stewart and Jupiter area, and he's an influencer, and he has contacts with EXP. He's actually one of the top 20 agents in the country for EXP. And listen to this, he's big into co-working. His brokerage that he started, he allows all these, he has created this brokerage with this space, but he allows all these other team members to have their own brand in that brokerage. So he's almost created like a co-working brokerage in brand space. So can you imagine all these forward-thinking things that he is? So he's the ideal customer. His problems that he has, he understands Zillow perfectly. He understands why he's weaning himself off, that they're trying to overtake the industry, that one day that Zillow could become a broker and he could be out of business. And that's why he's trying to wean himself off. Actually, he was one of the top premier agents in Zillow at one time when of course, he was spending $30,000 a month, but he still wants to build his online presence, but doesn't know exactly how. He wants to build it even more. He's doing some social media channels. Big thing with problems is he doesn't like to do get into granular things because he doesn't have a lot of time. So anything that's automatic, especially if it could be something that he's already doing, would be huge. He wants to grow his brokerage and network with more agents, but it's time consuming. He wants more leads. He's always big on leads. That's one thing for real estate. It's like you full of pipeline, put them in your CRM, and you just continually start to build a database. And he's still, like I said, spending a lot of money for that. He wants to build social equity, still be known as an innovator. People trust him, and he wants to be known as a cutting edge broker. That's something that's really important to him. He's like this millennial clean cut guy, and he almost does podcasts and stuff too that he does too as well. So. And what are the alternatives for Alex right now? I mean, his alternatives are Zillow. It's Zillow or Realtor.com. It's pretty much Zillow. That's it. He does do some Google ads, some home lights, some SEO, some pay-per-clicks, but he's trying all these different things, trying to cut costs and save money on his lead gen. That's a big portion of his expense is lead gen. He's also trying to grow his brokerage, so he's trying to meet other agents that he can recruit into EXP. So it's very time consuming for him. He has to go in person. He'd love to find an online way to meet other agents and tell them more about EXP, which is great. He's doing some Facebook marketing, Instagram posts, but he says it's a real slow process. And then he is into kind of these Facebook groups where he can crowdsource knowledge and learn more and network with more agents. So what I learned in this process, I mean, as a lot of you here in the cohort, I learned that these interviews are super important. We want to make sure that what our product is and the service that we had, that we're actually solving the problems of the agents. So that was something that I learned. I learned to really listen. I mean, he even told me, this is Alex, like I said, he was the best one. That was, he was like the ideal one. He's like, you're the first real estate agent that ever sits down and just listens. Because, because us agents, salespeople, of course, love to talk. So that was an important thing. Just listen, and make a friend and empathize. And another thing that I really learned, and this is incredible, is this is a great way to network with future customers and users. Actually, one of the other interviews became a member here at 1909. She's great. She's going to be an early adopter. So I've actually made this group of about 10 agents, guys, that are going to be the first adopters on RealTrade. And they're local here. So I've been meeting them in person. They're excited. And I wanted to say this one thing that I funneled to try to get an idea, and this is from Matt Meadows, is I started doing this vlog. So I friended these agents on Facebook, and then I'm actually vlogging my updates with RealTrade and what's going on, and telling them about the accelerator and everything that's going on. So that was cool. And I'm just going to keep doing more of these customer interviews and do it regularly, do it often. So that's it. That's the end. And I want to say go 1909 cohort.
Woo woo! Snaps.